Good morning, good morning. So this is very impromptu. As you can see, I've literally just had a shower, so my hair is wet. I've got my coffee, very tiny Thai coffee. And I just thought, you know what? I started to type my email, what I send out, every week, sometimes every second week, because I'm a projector who is very receptive. So sometimes it doesn't go out every week. And if you've been on my list for a while, you'll know that generally I give free guidance. My email list is not really a place for sales. And you know what? I might change that a little bit. But today we're going to go through a general overview of human design. And maybe you've heard this already, but I do encourage you to kind of tune in. Because something might come up for you. And as we go along, I'm going to add in some free trainings of different specific types of human design. Things like the profile lines, the centers, channels, etc. Of course, these are not individualized. This is not individualized guidance. So if you do want to do a reading with me, hold out to the end because I'll be giving you a little special discount for a reading. And know that, understanding the overall view of human design is super important, but don't get lost in the details. I see this happen a lot with people where they try and take in the entire chart in one go, all the numbers, all the channels, all the gates, and they get completely lost and they get frustrated and then they disappear and they're like, I don't want anything to do with human design. It's too complicated. Eventually they come back because everybody does. And then they understand that they have to start to break it down. So what I would say to you with human design, the way I guide people with human design is different to everybody else. And I'm not saying that it's better or worse. My system is different because of my design, but also because of my experience with my clients and the training that I've done and the research that I've done. And what I've noticed is with human design is that people are trying to use the system logically. They're trying to almost like use let's put that to one side. They're trying to use their mind essentially to figure out and analyze the data of a human design chart. So I'm going to ask you, when you learn about your human design, if you're brand new to human design, welcome to the rabbit hole. But when you first found out your human design and your chart, what did you do next? I can almost guarantee that you went into Google. You started typing out lots of things like, what does gate 56 mean, etc. What does it mean to be a 2-4? All of this. And what you're doing in that time is that, yes, you're researching and you're gaining knowledge, but the knowledge is logical. The knowledge is your mind, right? And in human design and in the work that I do, I've recognized that the mind cannot be trusted to embody the information that you're receiving when you're doing the Googling. You're gaining information, you're gaining numbers, you're gaining a system, you're gaining logical depth, but you're not embodying. Okay, there's two whole different things there. There's the learning in a logical process and there's the embodiment. And really, when people ask me, how do I live my design? Someone asked me this yesterday, but how do I live my design? How do we take it from this logical concept into the embodiment? You start to notice what it feels like in your body, which might seem like, how can you feel what gate 56 says on Google in my body? You experiment. The whole thing is an experiment. The whole thing is about play. Go and play. Go and pretend like you know what it's about and see what happens, right? See what happens in your body. See what happens in your body when you respond as a generator. How does that feel for me? What happened afterwards? And how did that feel? And that's what I always tell my clients. Go away, practice, play around, don't take it too seriously, and feel what happens in your body. The body connection is so important in human design. You can have all of the information in your mind, but you will never live your design from your mind. It has to come into the body. That's why you have, if you're a generator type, you have a sacral, right? It's in your body. If you're an emotional, it's in your solar plexus. If you're splenic, it's in your spleen. All of those in the body. Nobody, apart from a mental projector, of which there's very few, there's like a couple of %, is in their mind, right? The mind cannot be trusted to make decisions. It can only feed you information, but it has to go somewhere. You've got to feel it, okay? All right, let's not keep this super long. Let me share a chart with you and I'll give you a quick rundown, and know that in the coming weeks, I'll be sharing more information, more free trainings in video. It works better for me to be able to talk. If you've been on my webpage, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that. Me typing, as much as I love typing emails, to talk, to naturally share things that have depth, I find it much easier to speak. So let me show you a chart. And of course, if you have any questions after watching this training, please ask. You know, I love getting questions. All right, let's have a look at this. Why is that there? Okay, so you will see, this is my chart. Okay, I'm happy to share my chart. This is Genetic Matrix. So I would recommend, if you're going to get a chart, if you want to like download your own chart, use Jovian Archive. It's super simple. It's not very aesthetic though. It's kind of like very pointy in reds and blacks. Use Genetic Matrix. You can get your own here. I have a professional membership here, so I get to do lots of fun stuff. myhumandesign.com. I enjoy myhumandesign.com's readings when you get them, because they're really nice to look at. They're kind of pastel colors. It's very clear on the right hand side, all of the information. So go with one of those three. But I would highly recommend Jovian Archive or Genetic Matrix. They are better in terms of the technicalities. But for purposes of like whatever feels right for you, if you want to use myhumandesign.com, go ahead. So you're going to get your chart, right? And it's going to look like this. And what most people do is that they try and take in all of this information all in one go. So they look at all of the numbers, they look at all of these numbers here, the centers, all of this going on. And if you get your chart from myhumandesign.com, you won't have a lot of this information here. These are the colors, the variables, etc., which is a whole other thing. Fun things to look at. What I want to say to you, when you get your chart, don't try and take all of this in. I know there's people out there who are very popular. I'm thinking of like one person in particular who uses a couple of these gates and focuses on that. What I would say to you, you can certainly look at that and play around with it. But if you've not started with your strategy and your authority and understood your type and your profile, you're getting ahead of yourself, and that's where you'll end up getting really confused. Okay, and it'll turn into such a logical process that you'll be more confused than ever. You know, when you overconsume information, I know you've done it, we all do it, where you get to a place where you start to like read all of this stuff, you're scrolling too much on Instagram, you're consuming too many posts, you're investing in more and more and more and more and more trainings, more coaching and all of that. What's happening there is that you're basically taking in a lot of logical information. That's why sometimes it gets really overwhelming, because the head center can't really do anything with all of that. It doesn't go anywhere, right? It doesn't go anywhere. So that's why you get confused. So that's why I always tell people coming into human design, almost like pretend none of this exists in the beginning. Pretend you can't see any of these numbers, right? And just look at your type, your profile, your strategy, and your authority. When you're looking at Genetic Matrix, you'll see it doesn't say authority, but it says emotional projector, right? So that's my authority, is emotional. How do I know I'm emotional? Because I've got a defined solar plexus here, okay? So let's briefly go through the different types. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this before. I'm sure you've heard this before. But sure, play along with me, because we need to start somewhere if we're going to do these free trainings, right? So we've got the types, right? We've got the generator, we've got the manifesting generator, we've got the manifestor, projector, and a reflector. So we've got those 5 types, right? And predominantly the types are broken down into 75 to 78% of that generator type. What does that mean? If you're a generator, you have a sacral. This is going to be colored in, right? If you are a projector, for example, like me, we don't have this colored in. Okay? If you're a manifester, you don't have this colored in. If you're a reflector, you don't have anything colored in. Okay? Reflectors are 1%. Projectors are around 22 to 23%, although research at the moment is being gathered and it looks like it could be a bit more. The reason for that is projectors are a new type, and there's been a huge influx of projectors recently because of the mutation from Sleeping Phoenix, from Cross of Planning into this new 2027 mutation, which I'm not going to talk about right now. Then we have manifestors. We've got like 8% of those. Okay. So the biggest difference between a projector and a generator, a manifestor and a generator, a reflector and a manifesting generator, manifesting generators and generators all have this colored in, regardless. You all have this colored in if you're a generator type. That means that you have a gut reaction. Yes, no. Okay. If you're a manifesting generator, there is a channel that runs from here up to the throat center, or here up to the throat center, right? Because it has to have a motor to the throat. Let me see if I can share one with you. I don't want to share any names though. Do we have an example here? I don't. And I don't want to waste your time by going and looking for one. I do have one, but it'll be like, go in this folder and this folder and this folder. So if you're a generator, you always have this colored in. You might be an emotional generator, which means that you also have this colored in. And you're going to find that here. It'll say emotional generator, emotional manifesting generator. The difference between a manifesting generator and a generator is that manifesting generators have a motor to the throat. Okay, that means that there's access of energy running to the throat, so they have the ability to speak. Okay, not necessarily speaking about what's going on in the head. That depends if there's a channel running down from here into their throat as well. Okay, if you are a non-sacral, you're a projector, you're a manifester, you're a reflector, you do not have this colored in. Okay, that means you don't have access to sustainable energy. It's life force energy. Okay, if you're a projector, manifestor, reflector, and you're living with a generator type, be conscious of the fact that the energy that you're feeling is not yours. Okay, you're bumping off of somebody else's energy, which is not a bad thing, but projectors especially, they don't know when enough is enough, and then they burn out because they think it's their energy and it's not. So if you have this open and you're a reflector, manifestor, projector, and this is open, this means that you can take in other people's sacral energy from generator types and amplify that. Feels like your own, but you can bump off of that. So sometimes I recommend projectors, manifestors, and reflectors, if they really need to get something done, go to a place where there's other people there. For example, a co-working, a cafe, etc., because you can take on the sacral energy of others, use that to your advantage, and do the tasks that you need to do. The caveat is you need to set yourself a time limit because you'll burn out your energy. Okay. So for me, if I go to a co-working, I always keep it under 3 hours because it feels so good, that sacral energy, right? And you could stay there for hours and get stuff done if you're a non-sacral. But the thing is, you'll take it too far, and then the next day you'll be exhausted, and the next day you'll be exhausted, and the next day you'll be exhausted. So you didn't use it to your advantage, right? Because you've just written off several days because you overdid it. Okay. So that's the difference between generators and between sacrals and non-sacrals. The conditioning of the sacral center is huge, okay? 75% of the population have a sacral center. So what was built in society, like the 9-to-5 system, etc., was built from somebody who had a sacral. We don't know that for sure, right? But we can pretty much guarantee that, according to statistics of like 75% of the population being a generator, it's probably more likely that a generator type came up with that type of system, right? It works for generator types because they like to work, right? They like to do the stuff. But for the rest of the people who are non-sacral, that doesn't work. So they've been conditioned to believe that they need to do work like everybody else when that's not true. Okay, so there's huge conditioning around the sacral center. What does conditioning mean? It's basically your lived experience, your collected information, belief system of everything that's happened around you has made you believe that blah, 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 blah. I have to work hard. I have to push. I have to force. You know, harder is better, more is better, etc. That can work for generator types, right? I want to say, like, generator and manifesting generators are here to work. But the thing is, like, we need to redefine the word work, because that can mean a lot of things, right? So if you're a generator type and you're like, fuck, I don't really want to work all the time, you know, that's not my vibe. Maybe you love yoga. Maybe that's the thing that the sacral is going to use its energy on. Maybe you love looking after your kids, and that's the energy that you're going to use. So don't get lost in the word work. It could be anything. The sacral center is all about things like life force energy, sexuality, birthing children, family life, work in the traditional sense, etc. Okay, so know that work doesn't mean that work in the conditioned sense of the words, that you're going to go to work or you're going to do tasks. Okay, and non-sacrals, in terms of like not here to work, that's because you have an ability to do things better and do things in a different way. And like, projectors are here to guide generator types to show them a more efficient way of them doing their work or using their energy, right? And reflectors, they see deep into other people and they're a mirror to other people, and they can be quite triggering to people. Manifestors are here to initiate and inspire everybody else, you know? So we went off on a tangent about the sacral center there, and I want to let you know, like, if you're going to come to these trainings, and I can't tell you they're going to be every week, they might be, but they might be every second week. As a right-facing brain, you'll see these right arrows. I talked about this on last week's email. If you didn't look at that, go and have a look. As a right-facing brain, receptive, structure for me, it doesn't really serve me very well. You know, I need to get up in the morning and be like, what do I want to do today? What do I feel like I want to do today? You know, do I want to go out? Do I want to stay in? Do I want to do this training? Do I want to draw? What do I want to do, right? For me, structure and strategy has led me to a path of being more conditioned and more bitter, which is my not self theme as a projector. When I understood the arrows here, and again, go back to last week's email, I realized, oh, no wonder strategy was not working for me. Other people's strategy, typical types of strategy. I have my own strategy as a 2-4. But the reason that structure, rigidity was not working for me was because I'm a receptive. Okay, I have to do things that feel right. I'm a 2-4, you know? Part of me really wants to just be by myself and like not talk to anybody ever and is quite shy, etc. The other part of me really wants to be around people and help people and talk to people and share things and all of that. So I have a push-pull of energy, plus I'm a receptive, right? So I'm just letting you know that if you don't see a training next week, that's why, you know, depends on my energy. I always go with my energy. So yeah, so let's briefly talk about this. Let's not keep this too long. When you get your chart, I want you to go straight away and look at your type. What am I? Am I a projector, generator, manifesting generator, manifester, reflector? What am I? That is the first thing you want to focus on, right? Understanding your type. Delete, 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 delete everything else, okay? Until you understand what it means to be that, okay? And if you are non-sacral type, please don't take it as a negative. It's not a negative at all. Okay, it's not a negative. And if you've read a lot of stuff on Instagram, I did a post on Instagram last week, which was one of my biggest performing posts about why Instagram human design advice is not helping you, is because there's a lot of negative advice out there because people want to sell you something, obviously, but also it's all logical. It's all logical. None of it is feeling. So if you find out you're a reflector, what does that feel like to be a reflector? You know, what have you noticed in your patterns in your life that are like being a reflector? What would it feel like for you to be more of a reflector type, to be that mirror? How would that feel? Do you have some beliefs around potentially triggering people? You know, all of that sort of stuff. It's asking yourself, what does that feel like to me? When I've looked at being a projector, for example, I've done the logical process, I've done the research. Now, what does that feel like? When I move around the world, what does it feel like to me to be a projector? And for me, in my experiment, I notice it every day. Like sometimes I go into cafes and nobody sees me at all. I can sit there for a long time. And I find this super interesting because there's stuff in my chart as well, but also being a projector, sometimes people don't see projectors because it's the thing that they deeply want is to be seen and recognized, but not just like I see you, more of a like I see you, you know? So I can move around the world and be in places and I'm like, nobody even knows that I'm here. Yeah, my body is here, but they can't see me. And I'm not bitter about that. I find it really interesting in the experiment of being like, what does that feel like to me? And I feel like, you know, maybe it's leaning into I don't feel seen. And what is my belief around not feeling seen? Okay, so this is the deeper work of embodying your design, right? It's the feeling, it's taking that type and then going around the world and feeling into it, right? And you're going to do that with your type for a little bit. Then you want to bring in your strategy and your authority, right? What does that feel like to me? And your profile. Does it feel like to be a 2-4? I'm very 2-4. I'm very 2-4. And I only know that through my experiment. Okay. I see it all the time in the way I run my business. And sometimes I try not to be a 2-4 in my business and then it works against me. All of that sort of stuff. So you're going to play around with that. So this week until the next training, I want you to start the experiment. Start the embodiment now, right? That doesn't mean you're going to consume more information. I want you to almost like not look at any more information for this next few days. Okay. And start to feel like in my life, what does it feel like to be a generator, manifesting generator, projector? Where can I see that it's been a positive? Where can I see that I felt like it's been a negative? What beliefs do I have around being a projector, a reflector, a manifestor, especially the non-sacrals and the manifesting generators, because they get a bad rap a lot of times for not being able to focus. What does that feel like to me? When you start to embody the feeling of your design, that's when everything changes. You will never grasp fully your design if you just use the logical process. It's just a load of numbers, a load of symbols, a load of colors that will just stay in the mind and the brain and it'll never go anywhere, right? And you can consume more and more and more and more and more and more and more, But until you embody it and you start to feel like what that feels in your body, you're truly not living your design. There's a whole load of people on Instagram who will tell you things about your design in those motivational posts. And I'm all about like being motivated. I'm all about like the goodness that that might bring. But know that consuming that sort of stuff is never really helping you until you start to feel what's going on in your body. Right? So play. That's what I would say. Play around, see what it feels like, what's going on for me, what are my beliefs around this. Like, I don't want to be a projector, for example. That's what when I first found out I was a projector, it was a double whammy of like information that, wow, I'm a projector, no wonder I feel like an outsider. And two, wow, I'm a projector, that means I can't do anything, essentially. And it took a lot of understanding about me as a projector to turn that into a really big positive. I love being a projector. I wouldn't change it now. Of course, I am envious sometimes of manifestors being able to just go and have the inspiration and go out and initiate things. I'm envious sometimes of generators being able to just keep going. You know, for me, my working day is like, you know, I'm doing this right now and that'll be probably it for today. Honestly, Wednesdays are a bit of like, I get to Tuesday, and I know when to call it a day. I know that I can work. I used to be a restaurant manager. I used to work insane shifts on my feet, managing teams and full restaurants of people for like 14 hours a day. I know that I can work, right? But it's the understanding of what's good for you, what's right for you, what's correct for you is what they say in human design. Anyway, go and play. If you've got any questions, please let me know. If you're starting your experiment today, welcome. If you're ditching all of the information that you ever heard about human design today and starting to embody it, welcome. Play, don't take it too seriously. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can either email me or drop me a DM. And oh yes, I was going to share that with you. If you want to do a personal reading with me, I've got a little discount for you. It's 20% off. So you get, I don't know, it's like over £30 off a reading. And the discount code is the list. I'm going to put it in the email as well. So you can use that and get a reading with me. You can choose from a foundational reading if you're right at the beginning, or a human design session, which is a bit more intuitive. So I will see you soon. Have a wonderful day and rest of your week. Bye.